Hello, my friends. It is time to answer some questions and to question your answers, my answers, to go over it all. A few weeks, 2 weeks ago, I think, 1.5 weeks ago, I asked the people on my channel to ask me questions so I could have specific things to talk about. And today actually marks the half-year anniversary of my channel. When I really started doing YouTube was the 1st of October, and it's now officially half a year of me doing this. I've made 100 videos. They're not all out yet because I've planned some for the future, like the dub videos. They get made in advance. But yeah, so it's kind of like and a 4,000 subscriber celebration. It's like an all-round celebration, you know. It's just like half a year, around 100 videos. 4,000 subscribers, all of you being here with me all the time, having a good time. How great is that? It's pretty great if you ask me. So now I'm going to answer your questions and question my own answers. And that's gonna be the whole thing, this video. So and important to mention also, 1st of April marked the half year of me being with my girlfriend, because I actually had my first date with her on the 1st of October, when my first Roland TR1000 video went up and I started doing this YouTube thing for real. So it's really celebrations all around, and spring is starting. Like, spring is finally starting, guys. Like, that is really nice. I've been getting spring vibes here in Paris for a long time already, because I've lived in Stockholm, and in Stockholm spring doesn't start until like mid-August, and here in Paris it's just like already in January, February. There's been nice days, and just like all right. So I just scrolled to the bottom of my post, where the post where you all could answer questions, ask questions, and I just scrolled to the bottom, and I will work my way up from there. Start from the bottom. Now we're here. You get what I mean. My name is Bauke Top after all, so we want to get to the top, right? All right, and we start with a great friend of the channel, Bata9999. He always likes to keep me sharp, as he does with this question. He makes great stuff. He makes great music, very, very cool sounds. I've heard some very experimental things, some very raw things. Like, I really like what he does. And he asks me the question, why boring ass dub? No troll. And actually, like, knowing the kinds of questions he asks in general, he really likes to keep me sharp. This is genuinely no troll from him. It's maybe not how I would have phrased the question to another fellow human being, but this is his style, you know, and I appreciate that. Why boring ass dub? Well, first of all, it says something about you, my dear friend Bata9999, because you already put some adjectives in there that give away your stance on the dub thing. I also have to mention that later, like in the replies there, he says something very nice. Like, he says, like, a guy with Bauke's talents should be doing way more, like pushing the envelopes of music. And I think about that a lot myself as well. So thank you for this question, Bata9999. I will just start calling him. What is 4 times 9? That's like 36. 3 times 27, 4 times 36. I will call you Bata36 from now on. Bata36. I think about that a lot as well. But actually, it's just been through a process of elimination, actually. Like, it's like I don't have any other choice than to make dub. When I started getting into doing all the hardware stuff, first, like, there was no ceiling. I just tried out everything, and you can hear that in my playlist of like electronic improvisations here on my YouTube. It goes through all kinds of genres and through all kinds of things. But I really like to make stuff that I like to listen to myself, and I like the idea of music as a service as well. And there's many thoughts to this. It's like the dub is like an archetypal form of music. It is very minimal in a sense. It really lends itself for hardware playing, and I like to also make music that people actually, can listen to during their day and get a nice vibe. And actually, it starts with my own feeling, like, what do I like to listen to? And in general, there's already so much music that is like asking something from you, you know, that is asking like heavy vibes and like, whoa, look at this. And it's like, it's so impressive and like, and it makes you feel big things. But the dub that I like to make, it has a lot there if you want to pay attention to it, and if it's your flavor of music and you can dive deep and it's like, wow, that's actually interesting, I think. But more than that, it gives something, and I am a very sensitive guy, and I like smooth, warm, soft sounds, and I like dreamy spaces, and I like staying in one vibe for a longer amount of time. And that is how I ended up, like, I didn't even call it dub at first, but it just clicked. I was like, wait, I'm using dub philosophy to my music, kind of. So that's when I started calling it dub. And it's just, you know, I really like listening to my own music. I just like make it and then I just vibe out, and I love it because I can take walks through the city listening to the music that I make. And what I like about my music is that I can take a walk and then oh, this is interesting, this is nice. And then, you know, the music doesn't change much, so I lose my focus on it for a while. But that actually invites me to just look around me and then look around at the city. And then all of a sudden, the music fades into the background and I can just enjoy the world, and then all of a sudden something will catch my attention again in the music, and then I'm back in the music. But it's this whole, yeah, I like it when it can elegantly seep into the background. And when you speak of very kindly with my talents that I should be pushing the envelope of what music can be, yeah, I have many plans to over maybe, like, I think this year will be a year of dub, I think, and I hope to have maybe made like 100 dub tracks by the end of the year. But that's like a vague idea, you know, it's like not this has to be like this. And I think that maybe over the coming years, I will then expand into different genres. But the dub is so perfect for me to get control over my live setup and to practice like the fundamentals of doing live electronic music and doing a nice performance with that. It's less moving parts, it invites play, it invites space and time. And then I have a vague idea. I am not promising anything, but that maybe next year I will start doing, and now the playlist is called Dubs for Humanity. Maybe next year I will start a playlist House for Humanity, and I will start going more into house grooves and stuff like that. And then maybe Trance for Humanity, and like, you know, slowly expand it into different regions of electronic music. I think that can be something really cool. So I agree. Like, I also think that, my capabilities, I can do a lot of different things, but I'm taking quite a systemic approach to limit the variables so I can improve very consistently and really start doing some very cool stuff in the future. So it's all about taking my time, and that's what I like about dub as well. It forces me, I've talked about this in this other video, it forces me to come into a certain space. I can come in with a lot of energy, but the dub is like, yeah, that's cool, but hey, we got to get into the zone, man. And it's like a bit of a fun challenge. It's like a meditation, and it really grounds me. And after the 3 years I've had, the grounding feeling of the dub is something absolutely amazing to me. It soothes my soul. So that is why boring ass dub. All right, let's move on to question 2. Thank you, Bata36. All right. Nipogadzauba asks, let's see, what, like some usernames I really recognize right away, and that is not because some people comment more, but it's usually just like, I don't know, Bata has a very distinct name and picture, so I remember him. So I will check, okay, what other things has he commented on my channel over time. Yeah. I know who this is. I think this is. I think, right? I might be wrong, but I think this is a mastering engineer from Kazakhstan. But I might be wrong on this. I'm so sorry if I am actually wrong on this. How do I take this away? Come on. No. Help. Anyway, Hey, maybe thank you for asking the question and thank you for leaving the other comments. Hey, maybe late to the party, but anyway, I reckon you mostly work in headphones. Do you have any kind of monitors at all? And what do you think about headphones correction software like Sonarworks or Neumann Rhyme? So, you're not late to the party. The party is starting now, and you're here, you're present with us, which makes me happy. Um, anyway, I reckon you mostly work in headphones. Yes, I do. I exclusively work in headphones, I can say. That has been actually since I started producing music, since I was like 16. I've actually almost always worked in headphones primarily. That is my reference point, and I love just the direct sound of headphones and the repeatability, the because I've lived in Amsterdam, in Stockholm, in Utrecht, in Eindhoven, in Paris, in Berlin for a while. I've been so all over the place, and it started with always just me and my laptop and my headphones, and I didn't even have an audio interface until I was like 25. Yeah, I was always just headphone jack into the laptop, and that's later I started to learn about amplifiers and DACs and that it all matters a lot. But yeah, so mostly work in headphones. Do you have any kind of monitors at all? Absolutely. I have worked in studios a lot as well over the, now my later years, over the last 5 years. Also in my DJ days, in my early 20s in Amsterdam. At home, I would work on my headphones, but I was working together with a guy and he had a studio and our management had a studio. So then I usually worked on Genelecs that were there in the studio, and I've worked in many different studios. And in Stockholm, I started building my own studio, and then and they're standing right there at the TV now because I don't use them for work because I live in an apartment. But I have the Genelec 84. What is that exact serial number? You know, wait, we got this, all right. You guys are not allowed to use phones while this video is going on. I am. Genelec 83, is it the 8361? No, I think it's the 83, it's the smaller one than that. 8341 maybe. Is that what I have? Yeah, I think I have the Genelec 8341s. Yeah, that's the ones I have, and I absolutely love them. They are so like clean, but in a smooth way. I really love using them. But for work, it remains nice for me to use my headphones. Also, in my studio in Stockholm, I also had the sub that goes with it, like a big Genelec sub. And I tried out many different things, like doing straight analog in, but they are digital speakers, so they have conversion in there. So I also used AES out from my Prism and from the RME into the Genelecs, and I really like the sound of that. I also have the monitor controller, the big Genelec volume knob. I absolutely love them, but practically speaking, not very usable. But I am considering now that the setup is really coming together to maybe to put two speaker stands on the sides of my setup and put them here and on quiet volumes be able to work on speakers. I think that could really elevate my sound because speakers do really something else to the sound than headphones do. The biggest challenge with the headphones is estimating what the energy does in a room, and with speakers it just sings in the air and it flows. So what are my thoughts about headphones correction software like Sonarworks and Neumann? I've used Sonarworks for a while, but it's not for me. I like to put as little filters between me and the sound as possible. I want to take the shortest path and the least processing that's possible. So, I don't know. I always think like the designers of the headphones, they had to balance certain aspects to create the sound in the headphones, and the final result of that headphone, unless it's actively designed with the idea of correction software in mind, but most headphones are designed to sound as good as possible as they are, and I like also the idea that the limitations of the membrane, of the structure, and a competent designer, that together creates a little imperfect, but it creates a little symphony. And it's just like making music. It creates a harmony. It creates these limitations are something that are by a good designer are being considered actively, and then through all those limitations they end up with that thing, and I like that. Also, why I don't like using correction software is because my monitoring changes all the time. Like one moment I might be plugging in directly to a groove box with my headphones, and another moment I might be sitting at my computer and using my fancy headphone amplifiers, and another moment I might be plugging in straight into the console, and those amplifiers are radically different already, and I want to minimize if I would then on my computer all the time use the correction software, then the frequency response of the headphones would be wildly different if I plug it into these different amplifiers all over the place. And I like it more that I plug it in directly, no digital processing in between, so that I can just get that I know what the headphones do and also how they react to different amplifiers. Also like that, it reveals more to me what the actual amplifiers do to the sound, to the headphone, and that's an interaction as well, like just how a different preamp on a different microphone changes the push and pull of that microphone. The same headphone over different amplifiers reacts differently, and that direct connection between me and the headphone and the amplifier, it reveals to me the different characters of the amplifiers and the different characters of the headphones, and you will start to build this whole mental map of what certain amplifiers and headphones do, and it's all just part of the whole big signal chain, and I like that. I like being in close contact with the electricity. So I've used the correction software, but I don't like using it anymore. Thank you for the question, Nipogadzauba. InfectiousJerm. Okay. How do you keep your phrasing fun and interesting? Well, by this, I am starting to assume that maybe you think that my phrasing is fun and interesting, which I appreciate. But as a general question, this is one of the biggest things. What I like about the dub techno stuff, it's a challenge it really pushes my musicality. And again, I'm a very musical guy. A lot of music comes through me. But when I do dub techno, you have to limit and see what is the lowest common denominator. If I have a little theme in mind, if I hear some things that have a nice sonic identity, a certain loop of a MIDI loop is not going to sound as nice when you play it for 20 minutes. That's a real challenge. And so then I need to shave away. I need to add something to a little MIDI loop, to a little chord. I need to, because I don't like editing the MIDI while I'm performing my track. I don't want to, maybe over time I want to be able to improvise again, but right now I want to get it right. And then from all that experience, I can start improvising. But how do I keep it fun and interesting? Yeah, listening, trimming off the fat. Start with I start adding quite a lot of notes and a lot of chords and melodies, and then I just keep on playing it, and over time it will start get jarring, It will start be like, okay, but I've heard that little loop now a million times, it's getting boring. So I take away, and make it repeat less often and use less notes in the chord or more. But then over time you will feel all of a sudden where it clicks, and use the right polymeter, Like sometimes I just do a straight 16 step loop, but I'm starting to notice the differences. What happens if you do 17 or 15, and how does that change the drag and from when that chord hits? And same with if I have one chord loop playing and then on another synth I do another little chord loop. Okay, if both are 16, how does that feel? If one of them is 16 and one of them is 24, how do they interact? How do they push and pull? How does it keep on? So it's just listening and shaving away and listening and shaving away. And then what keeps it fun and interesting, and that's what I love about the live stuff, is that I have the freedom. What makes the track in the end is my performance of the track. That is the whole thing. So it's if I have a loop that I really love, but after a few minutes it does become jarring, well, you have a lot of other things to play with the filters, with the release. That is what I love about the live thing. I can change the whole sound, and that changes again the impression of that loop, and also how they interlink together. If I have the bass, one chord, another chord, and a little melody thing, okay, if 3 out of 4 sound like this, there's already a lot of permutations when you just take one away and like, okay, what about these 3 together? What about these 3 together? And if you do only 2, then you have also a lot of permutations. So they're all building blocks. Not one of them is like really the lead. Like in the end, it does end up being a bit like that one of them is like kind of the main character. But the other 3, for example, then are all side characters, and you in general, me, during my live performances, I experiment and I explore the relationships between those different side characters and main characters. And what happens if I take away this? What if I change the sound on that and do more delay on that? So it's just this constant push and pull. So how do you keep it fun and interesting? Yeah, by keeping it fun and interesting. That is how I keep it fun and interesting, I guess. All right. Thank you very much, InfectiousJerm. I feel like I've seen your username more often as well. And here we come to an absolute legend, Eldani. And he has been, how Eldani has been with me from the start. Big shout out to Eldani. I think a lot of people in the EasyBot community will know about the magnificent Eldani. I really... Shout out Eldani, I appreciate you so much, man, and thank you for all the nice comments and support that you've given me. I have to say, and I've said it in many videos, but it's really, I'm here to just like keep on making music and creating fun content and like being part of this community, and yeah, but sometimes it goes slow, and sometimes I don't have inspiration, and sometimes I feel like, why am I even doing this? And then always you guys leaving comments and stuff like that, and then I see somebody hasn't left a comment, left a few comments in the like a few months ago. Then I don't hear from them, and then I see a comment again from from that same person a few months later. I'm like, oh shit, they're here again, and it's nice, and it really like. I've said it before, but on some days I just, what am I gonna do today? Should I even make videos? What am I doing with my life? And then I just read a few comments, and I'm just like, you guys are the best, man. Like, thank you. Like, it really, I realize we're all in this together. You are this channel. I am this channel. We are the channel. All right. Eldani, shout out. What the fuck is right with this dude? Keep the good spirit. Well, that was funny because I in my post, I said that you can ask any question, like, for example, what the hell is wrong with this dude being me, and Eldani did a clever little twist there. What is right with this dude? I will keep the good spirit, thank you very much. And to answer what is right with this dude, it's that, first of all, I think I come from a pretty good home. My parents have been so supportive, and all parents have their shortcomings, but I can see throughout my whole life they've done their best to just be there for me, even if what they did for me was not always what maybe I needed, but they did everything they could for me. And my whole family is very sweet, and grew up in a good country, grew as far as winning the life lottery, pretty good. Just a lot of love and support around me. And I think that shows. I think that has shown over my life that I dare taking risks and dare going out on my own. And, also being through, because I'm very sensitive and my life has fallen apart at some point 3 years ago, going then through a massive burnout and massive depression, I came out a nicer person. Like, I think I was already pretty nice, but, I'm just happy to be here every day. I'm just like, I'm so grateful for my apartment that I get to do all of this. And when you've been on the other side and on a random November Tuesday now, and you don't feel like absolute shit, that's like, well, but I don't feel like absolute shit, so it's pretty good, right? So it's just, I think that's what's right with this dude. Loving family and going through some bad stuff and coming out positively on the other end. I think that's what's right with this dude. Also, what's right with this dude is all of you guys. That's what's right with this dude. All right. Thank you so much, El Dani. Ah, another absolute legend of the channel. I I don't exactly know. Like I texted with you in on Instagram, and I think your name is Serene. I'm not sure, but I here see Cerelydat. Sarah like that tone. Is it like Sarah likes that tone, or is like that tone? I don't know. I'm not sure how to pronounce your username, my friend. But absolute shout out. You're always supporting me. Also on Instagram, you're always out there. I really appreciate you, man. Like you're a really good guy, and you really keep me going every day as well. So thank you so much. Shout out to this username, everybody. Also, I really encourage all of you to start. I think you already do, maybe in the comments, but say hi to each other in the comments, man. Like, this is a safe space. We promise to be nice. I have become nicer. In the beginning, I was really defensive in my comments. Not defensive, but it's the first time I'm really putting myself out there in public. And after being through a lot of shit, one thing I wasn't going to take is insults to, when people left comments about, like, okay, this kid is just spoiled, or like, I am very happy, forgiving, nice, and in person especially, I'm just a very jokey, kind, empathetic guy. But that stuff really hit me wrong, man. Like, I've worked so incredibly fucking hard to be where I am now and for my wonderful equipment and my life. And so stuff and people that would try to discredit that, I would go in hard. But nowadays, I'm like, I'm nice. I will not go into fights in the comments. And also one moment I forgot, is it V? No, it's like it's something with West, I think, a username. We had a little fight and I ended up apologizing, and now he is one of the mainstays in the comments as well, which I love. So Sarah, I will call you Sarah for now. What is my favorite movie? I just talked about it with my girlfriend because she is an absolute movie nerd, and she gives me a bit of shit for this pick because it's not a depressing Polish movie from, No, I'm kidding. She has amazing movie taste and she teaches me a lot. But the first thing that comes to mind, like, okay, I grew up watching Lord of the Rings and Star Wars, and that was my absolute life, I can tell you half the history of Middle Earth at this point. But over the last few years, one movie that I really freaking love is Ford versus Ferrari with Christian Bale and Matt Damon, right? Yeah. I've watched it like 5 times over the last few years. I absolutely love that movie. Just how it's so emotional and the characters are so good, and how they make the tense and the passion and just the sense of speed and so Ford versus Ferrari, that is my pick. All right, shout out Sarah, like that tone. Thank you so much for always being there. All right. Oh, this is also a famous username on the channel. I recognize the usernames. I will not always remember what came before it, but I think... look at that. 21 comments, 10 hearts received. That's crazy. Okay, but let's look at... Like, I love you all very much. Like, look at this as well. 24 comments, 16 hearts received. I think in this department there is only one real winner, and that's Dani. I think so. 99 comments, guys. 34 received. That's just amazing. Also, 5 comments. Here we go. Yeah. This is InfectiousJerm. I remember. Look at this. 7 comments. 26 comments. That's just wild, right? To me, that's absolutely amazing. So we're seeing channel all-stars in this comment section, right? I may have already asked this question, but GH dash TE1CT. Maybe I'm misreading this, but GH dash TE1CT. Wow, that just rolls off the tongue, really. Is that the name on your passport? I hope so. But I may have already asked this question, but what is the path after you've recorded your jam? Do you record one stereo file or mix down? And where does one go to get their material in the hands of a label that will take them seriously? Oh, there's a lot to unpack there, isn't there? So to begin with the beginning, thank you for your question and always your comments. I appreciate it so much. Do you record one stereo file? Yes, I don't record the individual channels. I record the stereo file out of the Rodec mixer. Nowadays it's the Rodec mixer, so I go stereo out of the Rodec mixer into my Prism Titan interface that is standing over there, and at 96 kilohertz, 24-bit. And then I have a nice big music file, and what I do then is usually I want to have the work done as quick as possible. You know, I don't want to sit on it and then later come back to the editing or the mix or the mastering or whatever. I just want to, so I'm a bit tired always after doing the performance because it takes a lot of brain work, and that brain is a little peanut, right? So it's a lot of so anyway, I record it and then I immediately sit down. I usually take another pair of headphones, and often that is either my Sennheiser HD 800s or my Odyssey MM500s, and I run it through my Elysia 500 series units. So I have it goes through a compressor, the X-pressor, then it goes through the X-filter, EQ, and then it goes through the character from Elysia, all three of them. And gentle stuff, like I do a bit of gentle compression, like I think the ratio is at like 1 to I think it's like 1.5 to 1, like very gentle ratio, and I compress it by like maximum like 3 dB at the higher peaks. And the EQ, same thing, like 1 dB at like 50 hertz, 1 dB at like 10K, take maybe away a little 1 dB at 300 hertz, 200 hertz, and maybe depending on the recording, I will add or take away a little bit of 3K or like 2K if I feel like it needs more texture or less. And then the character, 3 dB of drive, it's really nothing. And then what I do, I set it up so that the drive is in a nice spot, that I don't hear it clipping too much, but it just adds body, that character. And then, because the compressor comes before the saturator, I can use the makeup gain of the compressor to finally push the real level into the character and also the converter. And for a while, I did a lot of clipping of my converters, but I don't do that anymore. I just want to have a nice, clean sound. It's better for the piece in the end. So that's just it. And then I run it through usually my most trusted limiter, just for safety, it's catching peaks, is the FabFilter Pro L2, and it's not limiting all the time. It just catches some, you know, when a dub chord together with a kick hits, it can create a little peak, and then it may compress limit by 3 dB or something, but in general not every kick hits that limiter. So my older stuff over the channel, this is nowadays my process, the older stuff, then it would be limited and compressed a bit harder, but over time my tastes are becoming more subtle. So yeah, so that's my process. I record it, I master it with Elysia stuff and little Pro L, and then I put the whole video together. I create a little intro for my latest videos, and then I schedule it, or maybe the next day I upload it and schedule it. And where does one go to get their material in the hands of a label that will take them seriously? Yeah, that's a long story, man. That's a real long story. I went through my whole 20s chasing exactly that and wanting to be in touch with the label. And so for a while, I was also releasing under... I've done a lot of different releases back in my DJ days, in my 20s. When I was living in Amsterdam, I was making like proper EDM stuff with my friend from school, Joep. And our debut single was a collaboration with Nicky Romero. EDM fans will know Nicky Romero, Dutch DJ, very big in the EDM scene, and that was massive at that time, like 2016. So on his protocol recordings, it was Nicky Romero and Navarra, that was our DJ duo. Crossroads, that was my first proper label release. And how did that happen? That happened over time. Like, it was... I was 3 years in music education, the Herman Brood Academy in the Netherlands, and there was a lot of dance producers there, and a lot of them already had some connections in the industry and stuff like that. I did not. I grew up in the middle of nowhere, so I felt a bit insecure about that. So you were constantly just also a bit like competitive with each other, like, oh, he got this release there and that release there. But it was just keeping on making, actually, and just keeping on making, and you find your way, make friends in the scene. That's kind of it, I think. That's what happened. Like, we became friends with this person and with that person, and then all of a sudden somebody has an email of an A&R, and then it's just become friends. But then I released on Revealed Recordings. I think there's some other stuff, on Universal, and I did some pop stuff, and then that was all just through connections and making friends and doing your thing. That's kind of it. And but then I worked for a label and the whole lo-fi thing. And after that, I became a bit label agnostic, and I realized that what a label can offer is an audience that you have not tapped into yet, or like another form of reach in a way. So you have to ask yourself, why do you want to release with a label? Is it for the clout? Is it for the idea that you want to be, that it's more established? Or is it just to get your music on streaming platforms and on Bandcamp? Because that you can do yourself. That is like not really necessary. So if it's to get listeners, I have just turned around completely and decided I want to be heard. I want my music to be heard, and I don't want anybody else to be in control of that. I want to take power over that, and that is part of the reason why I continue doing this YouTube channel. It's just like I want to put my music in front of people, and so that's what I'm doing now. And that's also why it fits in with the live stuff, because then I have actually something I can put on video, and the audience will find you if you keep on doing what you do, I guess. Like, my audience is small by, international standards, but to me it's a very meaningful audience, because you see on how many times people like you return to my channel. It means the world to me. And now the funny thing is, I was chasing my whole 20s, like, I want to be seen or signed by this label or that label. And then now that I've been starting to do this YouTube thing, I've already had multiple people reach out to, hey, do you want to release on our label? Do you want to release on our label? And it's like, it completely switched around, because now I'm doing something I really love, and people are starting to find me because I make myself findable. I create stuff to be seen and to share with the world. So I think that's kind of it, So I think my advice, and I know, like, this is the hardest thing. I've never been good at finding labels and marketing and stuff like that. So I really know where that question is coming from, and I know the feeling, and I know how unhelpful my answer actually is. But it is really just do your thing and make friends. That is kind of it. And that's kind of it. And ask yourself, why do you want to release with a label? That's also one of my great tips. Thank you so much, JHTE1CT. The Crazy Wabbit, absolute legend on the channel as well, has been here for a long time. Thank you for writing in, The Crazy Wabbit. All right, you've inspired me to dub while toileting. That might have been too much information. I really appreciate the video on 4+1 things to dub. I messed around in my pants and had a blast. Jam, slam, or bam, bring the fun, good sir. Now this is the kind of question that just like tantalizes all of the senses, and it makes you wonder a lot of things. The first time I read this question, I kind of misread it, because also the toileting dub stuff is not coming out of nowhere. Also, when I have my post up there saying that you could ask anything, like I also said, you can also ask me what is the best position for pooping, because I actually have thoughts about that, but nobody asks, so I'm not going to talk about it. But so the Crazy Wabbit is not as crazy as he seems. It's not coming out of nowhere, right? You've inspired me to dub while toileting. That might have been too much information. Not at all, Crazy Wabbit. That is not too much information. Nothing on this channel is too much information. But when I misread it was that I messed around in my pants, and that made it feel to me like you actually shat yourself. But that's probably not what you meant. You probably meant to say like, "Hey, you inspired me to double toileting." But then I also started messing around while wearing pants, But you gotta be careful with how you write these things, because people might misinterpret it that you actually pooped yourself. And had a blast. Great choice of words in that context as well. Jam, slam, or bam, bring the fun, good sir. Yeah. Thank you so much, Crazy Wabbit. You are also bringing the funk, I could say. Very funky stuff here. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you. And what can I say? Yeah. All right, absolute dear friend of mine, patchbaydiaries, also known as Mikael Landeen. I've talked about him on this channel. He has a YouTube channel, and he just had a great video about showing his new studio. Seriously, I've recommended his channel many times, but now really check out his channel, because his studio in Latvia just came together, and it is looking absolutely amazing. It is so beautiful. So check out his studio tour on his channel, patchbaydiaries. And we've been friends for, I think it's 2026. We've been friends for 6 years. I met him in Stockholm, actually, thanks to some mutual friends and the UBK Happy Fun Time Hour podcast, because he made a post with them hashtagged in it, and I was looking at that hashtag because they stopped uploading their podcast. If you like Music Nerd, or if you like my channel, you will absolutely love the UBK Happy Fun Time Hour. They're the best. So Mikael is a great lover of my Moog Slim Fatty, so he is asking, Slim Fatty, are you selling it? And I sense some ulterior motives in there, because he is he would like that one, but he's not getting it. So no, I'm not selling it, Mikael. Thank you very much. All right, thank you for writing in, Mikael. GDRDM. All right. Has he left more comments? I don't feel like... yeah. Sorry, guys. I really don't mean to be rude if I don't exactly remember... I can't see what it was. If I don't exactly remember all of you, I really am sorry. Like, I always... when you guys leave a comment, I always check, like, because I can see what other comments you have left, and because usernames can be a bit hard to remember for me, so it's like I always check who is this person again, and some people I know, and some people I forget a bit because there's a lot of comments coming in, but I always check, like, what else has this person said, and then I remember, oh, I had that conversation, and usually it's great people, and it's like great. So sorry if I don't remember you, but I promise you I always check, like, who are you, what do you do, and like everything like that. So GDRDM, opinions on Erica Synth's Percons. I have the Syntact and the LXR. What is the LXR? Am I being stupid right now? And am selling them and getting a Roland Tier 1000 or adding a Percons to them. Any tips or insights? Ooh, I love the Erica Synth Percons. It's a very specific sound, but it really depends on what you want to do. It's one of the most live playable drum machines ever. If you check out my Shibuya dub or my Fucho dub on my channel, you will hear just how flexible you can be with it. But it's really like a very minimalist kit, you have 4 channels and that's it. So compared to what you can do with a Syntact or a TR-1000, you can, like on a TR-1000, you can make a whole track, right? It's like basically, yeah, I've done that on my channel as well. You can do so much with that. So, and also sound-wise, I would say that the Erica Synth Percons is like forward and like mid-low, low-mid-heavy and like tight as shit. And it's like, it's, for me, I can do really cool, snappy, dry drums on the Erica Synth Percons. And the TR-1000 to me is classic. It is open, it is modern, it is groovy, it is Roland and very feature-rich. And yeah, so it's very different. And Syntact, I've never used it, but my friend, actually Mikael, patchbaydiaries, he's used a lot of Electron devices, and he actually he sold his Syntact and he regrets it every day because he really likes the kick drum on the Syntact. And I've been listening. The kick drum on the Syntact is, I believe, different from the analog rhythm, which I have. And the Syntact has like a punchy, it's got a round ass kick. I really like that one. So yeah. Any tips or insights? Yeah. What do you do, man? What kind of music do you do? And why... Yeah, if you can, try them both out, of course. And like that's why I love the luxury that I live with, that I can have multiple of them, and over time, over the months, I can just try them all out. That's why I'm so grateful for the luxury of my setup as well, because it really allows you to learn like what the strengths are of these things and what you like about them. So it really depends on what you want to do, but I recommend checking out my channel. You can always see on the performances what I'm using, and you can kind of listen to my different dubs and like, okay, so that does this sound, that does that sound. I'm also considering, because I started a new series on this channel, which is called Synthetic Relations, and I did it with the Take 5, and I just take an hour to play around with just that machine and talk about it a bit, just to jam out on it so people can get a feeling of what that thing sounds like in the hands of me. And yeah, so I'm planning to also do that with the drum machines, but it might take a while because I've got so many synths and drum machines to get through. But so yeah, I will probably do like once every 2 weeks or one every week, but I hope I will get to it soon enough so you can make up your mind about this. So thank you, gdrdm, for leaving a little comment. All right, Embers and Ash, also absolute legend of the channel. Appreciate you so much, man. Thank you for being here and always giving great insights and track tips. Now, I didn't see this comment yet, so I would have checked this out beforehand. I also don't want this video to get copyright struck, so could you check out Wathamu Beach remix by Moritz van Oswald? Well, Moritz van Oswald, if I'm correct, that is right. I believe that's one half of Basic Channel, the absolute dub techno legends and creators, kinda. So Embers and Ash, I promise you, I will check out Wathamu Beach by Moritz van Oswald, because if there's anyone that has friggin' amazing dub techno recommendations, it is Embers and Ash. So, or is it Ember Sand Ash, or is it Embers and Dash? I don't know, but appreciate you, and really, if you ever see him recommending something, check it out. I'm gonna do the same. I'm gonna check this out. Thank you so much. Izzymonkey. I'm not gonna lie, and for a second I read that differently, and I thought there was a J before that Izzy. Izzymonkey. All right, yeah, I remember what you commented. Thank you for being here, izzymonkey. You and I make very different kinds of music. I come from decades of performing live rock/pop, jazz, Hindustani, and experimental electronic music, but I discovered your videos because of the Alpha Bass Mark II. I'm no drum machine expert. My dream machine was actually the original Electron machine drum, which I did own and appreciated for a long time. Getting something to move off the grid, touching something more organic, was challenging to say the least with any drum box. You and Matti Matti, shout out Matti Matti, the Alpha Bass legend, introduced me to an instrument that took me completely by surprise, the Alpha Bass. It's quirky, frustrating, opaque at times, and it feels so good. My question is, when does it make a return appearance in your videos? We see the Roland regularly now, but somehow it's not the same. Purple Heart from Minneapolis. izzymonkey, shout out Minneapolis. I've never been, but I'm so intrigued by the American cities. I've never been to the US. I'm so curious, and like when you say Minneapolis, I think it's like, I want to go there, you know, like so many places in the US I want to see. Let me just take a little sip of water and I will get into this. All right, that's a wonderful question, wonderful written. I love hearing some of your history. I think I also replied that. I really like to hear where all of you are coming from, you know, and like not only physically, but also in your trajectory in life. I also notice, and I might be wrong on this, but I noticed that I have a bit of an audience that is older than me, which I really enjoy. Like a lot of you guys are like in your in 30s, 40s, and 50s. And shout out to all of you because I really enjoy that. Maybe the younger people that watch this are not really commenting as much, but I love this because you guys have had way more experience than me. You've been around some of you have been around in the 2000s, in the 90s, and you have insights from that and also experience. You've seen this whole electronic music scene grow up. And so I also love hearing these kinds of stories and that you come from such a different music background. And yeah, it's like I'm so grateful for that you guys share that stuff and then give me also recommendations of stuff to listen to and stuff like that, you know. It's yeah, I want to just point that out, that I really appreciate you guys sharing your insights with me. Anyway, love that, absolutely, your whole history. When I first of all, I agree, the alpha base just feels so good. It is quirky, frustrating, and opaque, and this was a very eloquently written question. When does it make a return appearance in your videos? Well, oh, right there, baby, it's right there. As soon as I read this 10 days ago, I actually swapped out the TR1000 for the alpha base again. I was like, yeah, he's right. I should swap that out again. I should get back to the alpha base, and it's also connected to the heart of my channel, also the TR1000. But so for the last for the last week and a half, I've been making music again with the alpha base as the main drum machine. But as my releases, I do a Tuesday and Friday dubload. A Tuesday and Friday dubload. Get a dubload of this. Yeah, it takes a while before the changes start showing on the channel, but so yeah, it's back, and now I think there's like 5 tracks that are. One of them already came out, Footsteps into Electricity, and I've already got 4 more planned. They're all with the alpha base as the main drum machine, and I love coming back to it because there's nothing that sounds like it. It's the most analog synth sounding drum machine that I have ever heard, and that aligns with my tastes and stuff like that. Holy crap, I'm getting a dry mouth here. All right. Yeah, so it's back, and I'm really grateful for this comment because it really put the alpha base back on my radar. I was like, yeah, let me swap it out, and I've had a lot of fun with it since. Fizz. Oh, don't drop the water, Bauke. Let's get comfortable here. I'm gonna sit down. Also, I turned 30 last year, and I once heard a friend who was already 30 say, like, hey man, you're gonna, and you know, it's such a cliche, but you're gonna start feeling your body more after 30. And I was like, yeah, right, man. And you know, you guys have seen my channel. I sit on the floor, I do weird positions, and but nowadays, after I sit a while on the floor, all of a sudden my knees are stiff, and it's like, what the crap is happening? Also, I should probably start running again, but there we go. Thank you, izzymonkey. Lovely story. All right, random meteor. It's not a specific meteor, it's just a random one, guys. Remember that. Do you remember the CD record you first bought with your own money growing up? Also, how did you land on genre/sound? Was it a certain artist or gear influence? One more, do you listen to your own music? For myself, I make music for me, and releasing them with names and artwork is also part of the hobby. For some more insight, love it, my general rotation of music that I like and listen to, there is a lot of breakbeats, but in my own productions, I have personally never used a breakbeat, lol. Keep up the great work, dude. Always enjoy tuning in. Random Meteor, shout out to you. Thank you for always tuning in. And I think we have a lot of stuff in common here because actually I recognize a lot of what you say. So let's start at the top. Do you remember the first CD/record you first bought with your own money growing up? I certainly do, and it was shit. I forgot the title because the deadmau5 CD titles are so weird. But it was a deadmau5 CD. It was which one was it? I must have been like 15, 16 or something. And I'm gonna find this right now. Weird that I don't remember the title, but let's see. Why is it not loading? No, stop Spotify DJ. I don't want you. Also, I barely use Spotify for streaming, but I mainly use Apple Music. But Spotify is easy. Wait, no. Let me search here. Yeah. That mouse. It's the CD with the Veld on it. You know. That was one of my absolute favorite tracks when I was 16. Album title goes here. Well, no wonder I didn't remember that. Album title goes here. That's the first CD I bought of my own money. And buying CDs when I was 16, yeah, that was in 2011. That was not popular. Like, none of my friends bought CDs and stuff. But already, I don't know where it comes from, but I was from the start as a teenager, when I started to make my own money, from the start I was obsessed with sound quality and headphones and stuff like that. And so it started with my brother when I was younger, like 12 or something. I have a brother who's 3 years older than me and a sister who's 6 years older than me. And first, it was my brother that found this website where you could download whole albums, MP3s. Before that, it was LimeWire and stuff. But it was a breakthrough finding that one website, because it was always MP3s on 320 kilobytes per second. And that really opened my ears. Like, oh, this sounds so much better, you know? And then I found out that, wait, but CD is way higher bitrate and way higher quality. So I started looking for wave downloads, but that was hard to find. So I started buying stuff on Beatport, and I started buying CDs, usually so I could rip them and put the waves on my phone, which I used for listening to music back then. And then the first album I bought was deadmau5. Album title goes here. And I listened to it so much while playing Minecraft with my friends and stuff like that. And the Veld, I have such clear memories of, I had a girlfriend when I was 16. And I was always a bit too much. I mean, we're not together anymore, so it makes sense, but a bit too much. I was looking forward to the bike ride home from her place so that I could put on my Philips headphones I had back then and just listen to the Veld, driving through some forests and biking through some forests and fields, listening to the Veld on those headphones. It was amazing. So album title goes here by deadmau5. Also, how did you land on your genre/sound? Was it a certain artist or gear influence? Yeah, actually, that's what I said in the beginning with Bata's question. Through a process of elimination, kind of. And I've done many different genres and sounds over my whole musical life. Like, I started playing piano when I was like 7 or something, and then when I was 10 I found the sheet music to Pirates of the Caribbean, and I always wanted to play the themes of my favorite movies, and I thought I was going to make orchestral music. So I've also done that when I was a teenager, and Fruity Loops and stuff like that. But then it was EDM, and that really drew me in, and I played in bands, whatever. I did so much stuff, and then all my lo-fi stuff, ambient stuff. But and I love psychedelic rock things to jam out with my friends. But with this genre/sound, it is just through having the live setup and doing everything live that over time I wanted to create a vibe that was repeatable but different, you know? And the dubs thing just really made sense. It was a late Saturday night. The first time it really clicked that the dub thing was what I was going to focus on was with the Subkiller dub on my YouTube. I was tired. I didn't want to... I've been making videos so many days that week, and it was a Saturday night. I was hanging out on Discord with my friends, and then when we hung up at like 1 o'clock, I was, the setup is just there, you know. It was looking at me, and I felt tired. My body felt tired, but my spirit was saying something. You got to try something out, man. And I don't know, all of a sudden 4 hours just disappeared, and all of a sudden I made this track, and it was the Subkiller dub, and it came from all these influences, and that's when it really clicked. And I was like, wait, I think this is dub. I think I'm gonna do dub more. And it did pretty well, like at a few thousand views. And that was also a signal for me from you guys that you guys watched it more. And so that I have to say this, that the whole YouTube thing also has really helped with finding my sound, because I just listen for small signals in the world. Like, I listen to my own signals. What do I want to make? What can I make? What do I like listening to? But also, you guys are also a signal in that chain, you know? Like, it's a feedback loop. So if I notice that the world reacts more to a certain sound that is already a sound that I love as well, because I have a broad palette available to me. So wanting one direction is just a big desire in me, because it gives focus and direction. And then over time noticing that, oh wait, but the dub stuff is a great medium between my skills and my passions and the world, because it's also a format that people understand already quite well, and it's something I can play with. And yeah, I want to make music for people, so it's fun if it reaches more people in that sense, but it has to be in line with what I love doing. It's not like, oh, this is popular, so I'm gonna make it. I hope you understand what I'm saying. So yeah, and then it was Basic Channel, absolutely Basic Channel, that and Mono Lake, yeah, that stuff really kicked it off for me. Do I listen to my own music? Yeah, absolutely. Like 90% of the time, 95% of the time, I would say. I almost exclusively listen to my own music. At first, I start listening to my latest track, and it's from a sense of wonder. I'm like, whoa, what happened there? This is so cool, And then over time, I keep on listening to the same latest few tracks. And over time, I keep on listening to it, and that helps me to improve and to listen to, but I could improve this, and that went a bit wrong, and I could, what if I tried this out and that out? And then sometimes I need to ground myself again, and I'm like, okay, but I'm making dub. I need to respect the dub, so the dub will respect me. So then I go out and buy some records, or I ask you guys for recommendations, and you guys have given great recommendations, or I go on YouTube and I find some stuff. And to just like ground myself in the genre again. And then I listen to some dub for a while, and it always opens up new ideas. Then I hear something, I'm like, oh wait, I could do something with that idea, and then pooh, like that. So yeah, and I completely agree. And releasing them with names and artwork is part of the hobby. As soon as I put the 15 dub performances of the first 2 months together in an album, Dub Drop Volume 1 on my channel, and when I made the artwork, it was like I heard them in a whole different way. It was like I saw them with the artwork, and I was like, damn, I actually made music. I actually made records. That's really cool. So I really agree. Yeah, and when I listen to music, the dub stuff is always for for education, I would say. When I listen to music just in the background and it's not my own, then it's usually jazz. Yeah, it's usually jazz or some like electronica or some. Oh, I absolutely love Ulrich Schnaus. Check out On My Own. Yeah. I forgot the album title, but Ulrich Schnaus, it has the song on it, On My Own, Letter From Home, Blumenthal, so many great songs on that record. It's one of my absolute favorite records. So ambient, electronica, jazz, fusion stuff, that's what I listen a lot to in the background, because it goes back to Bata's question as well. I like music that is just long, it has a vibe, but it doesn't scream at you. And sometimes a great pop banger. One of my favorite bands is Night Tapes over the last few years. They're based in London, I believe, but part of them are from Estonia. Dreamy pop, electronica, fucking amazing. Check out Night Tapes, guys. It's really, really good. All right, thank you, Random Meteor. Ronnie Cupmore, also a regular on the channel. Howdy. Interested in hardware effects boxes. What do you think of the Dreadbox Phaser? What's your favorite reverb and delay units that you've used? Many thanks. Oh, also any tips on making textures and atmospheres for tracks? Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ronnie Cupmore. What do you think of the Dreadbox Phaser? Oh, I needed to get used to it for a bit, because it's so, when I think of a phaser, I think of like, I'm so used to in the box stuff, and like plugins can be a bit brighter in a sense. And okay, not a phaser, but the Meta Flanger from Waves is my absolute favorite flanger. It has such a bright, bitey sound. If I add it to something, it creates more brightness, and that's what I really like about it. And so I've also used my Yamaha 80s effects rack unit, the SPX90 Mark II. it does the same. It creates more texture and grit in the high mids and top end, and that's what. So that's been my reference point for phasers and stuff like that, and modulation effects. So when getting the Dread box, it's super warm sounding. It's super chewy and deep and rich, and so that took a bit of getting used to place it in my mixes. But now that I'm getting used to it, I absolutely love it, and that's why I also bought the Komorebi, the other pedal next to it, their chorus flanger thing. Yeah, it's thick, it's creamy, and pairing it with the Oberheim or any of my synths, it's just friggin' amazing. On my, is it Sunset Dub? Yeah, I think the Sunset Dub. I ran the Magella through the phaser, and you hear this like, it is absolutely amazing. I love it. What's your favorite reverb and delay units? Tough, actually, because I really now I really enjoy using the built-in effects on my Rodec mixer. Oh, it's behind the TV, you cannot see it, but I really love using those because they're very rich and thick in a way, but still with texture. But I bought my first delay pedal. Our first delay pedal I ever bought was the Boss Wazacraft DE1, like the red delay pedal. Bucket Brigade, love that stuff. Analog delays, absolutely love it. But I bought the Source Audio delay because it has a great stereo field and it's a very clean delay. I don't like using the emulations of like tape and stuff on it. I just use the digital setting. It's super wide. Yeah, absolutely love that one as well. But when I use it now in my tracks, you will hear it in Footsteps into Electricity. I run the main synth through the filter, through that, and then back into the console. I do get a bit of a disconnect because everything is analog. And again, like, it's not that I'm an analog purist, but I just like I like internal coherence. And so then I can be a bit of an absolutist, like either it's all digital or it's all analog, or it gives me that feeling at least. And I feel like the Nemesis delay from Source Audio, because it's so digital clean, it doesn't always blend in very well with my analog stuff. So it's not about, oh, it's bad because it's digital. I love the sound of it, but it doesn't always blend in very well because the rest of what I have is so character rich, you know. So reverb, love the, oh, it's not there right now, it's right here somewhere. The Eventide H90 with black hole reverb. I bought that one, got a good deal on it. It was like a secondhand Big Sky. Not really feeling it per se. A bit of the same thing as with the Source Audio. It's a bit too clean maybe for me, but the reverb on the Rodec mixer is really nice. Cheap and easy, you know. Also, but favorite stuff I've used, well, I've used the Space Echo in Mikael's studio, Patchbaydiaries. Check out his YouTube channel. Yeah, Space Echo is absolutely amazing. And I'm thinking to get a nice Bucket Brigade delay in the near future. And yeah, so just trying stuff out. Any tips on making textures and atmospheres for tracks? Well, first, when I was 2 months ago, when I was starting to really get into the dub, I used the TR-1000 a lot, the drum machine, and then I added like samples of like vinyl that I recorded and sampled, and I used that to literally just add a texture. But now I've switched that a bit, and I've started doing more. My setup is more limited because I only use one mixer now, not the 2 mixer setup anymore. So I have more limited stuff I can do. So what I now do is that I incorporate usually the texture with an atmosphere with the pad sounds that I make. So what I usually end up doing is adding to my UDO or to my Take 5. I usually end up adding either just straight up noise, or I use the noise, you see that in my Take 5 video, using noise to modulate the filter, and that creates this really wonderful texture, and then a lot of reverb, and then mixing it in right. And that's not even EQ, that's just the right gain balance, like push it back into the back. And yeah, so kind of stuff like that. Whew. All right, we're going, guys. You know what I'm gonna do? I have a little pain au chocolat there. I'm gonna get my pain au chocolat and I'm gonna eat that while I record this. I hope you guys don't mind. I invite you to get a little snack as well because we're here for a while. You know how these things go with me. Also, I was thinking like these questions are so good. When I was taking a shower before doing this video, I was like, almost all of these questions are already worth doing their own video on. So maybe in the future I will go over some of these questions again and just like make like 10-minute videos and like practically explain what I'm doing. That's a good idea. All right, let me get my pain au chocolat. Give me a second. How long are we going? My friends, this is why I live in Paris, pain au chocolat. That's really good. Just 1 second, guys. I'll be back in a minute. When did I ever get the idea that doing these long videos is a good idea? Well, I think it's fun. But today I noticed I was hungry. All right. Pain au chocolat. My birthday is on the 11th of July. Thanks, guys, for remembering. Back then, always, like a lot of Dutch people do, me and my family would go to France in the summers and with a car and a tent, and we would stay on a campsite for like, excuse me, for like 3 weeks. And my birthday would usually be around that time. And then usually on my birthday, I would get a nice little pain au chocolat on the campsite. And so pain au chocolat is deeply ingrained in my childhood memories. It's great. So we have Anton H2743. I cannot see what other comment he has left, but I'm sure it was a good one. So annoying. Yeah. All right. Thank you for writing in, Anton H2743. You mentioned you make money making music. How and from where? Could you break that down? I know it's a pretty boring subject, but it's also fascinating to me as a hobby musician that never release anything I make, except show my friends now and then. Well, that is already the best thing with music, I think. It's made for people. It is made to be listened to by people, and especially your friends. That is like I think that, if for me, and you can also make music completely for yourself, but for me, the music, the loop is finished with the music once it reaches people as well. When the creativity that comes out of me also connects with other people and it adds something to their lives, or it makes them upset, whatever. But then it's finished the loop. So it's for people, because not everybody can make music. And if you can make music, then it's a great gift that you can give to the world. So that's already great. But how do I make money making music? How and from where? So I've explained this in other videos, but right now my main source of income is royalties from streaming. And I made like 1,300 tracks for a Dutch label called Fruits Music. And it was like lo-fi hip-hop and ambient stuff that I made for them. And so first I would and I know him, the guy that runs the label, I know him also from my music school, the Hem en Brood Academy, where I was from 19 until 22. And he just reached out to me one day because he knew I had production chops. And he was like, you want to make some money making some beats? I was like, hell yeah, because I was working in a cafe back then. And he was just like, all right, you can make like some lo-fi hip-hop beats and I will pay you a flat fee. It was a flat fee of absolutely nothing, like 50 euros per track in the beginning. But I just took anything because anything was better than working in the cafe for me. And so I started doing that. And over time, I started to push to get paid more because music was streaming an incredible amount and I didn't get any royalties. And they were at some point making millions of the music that I made. And then we had a little strong conversation about it for half a year with some lawyers involved, and then I managed to get royalties on that music, and it's getting streamed millions, billions of times. So I have a small percentage on those royalties, but I'm happy with what I got, and it's thanks to that still money is coming in. So that's already two ways: producing something and getting a flat fee, or getting royalties from the streaming. But before streaming becomes significant money-wise, it needs to be streamed a lot, and that is what the label managed to get done. So yeah, that's kind of it. It's for me right now the royalties of all the music that I've made in the past, and now actually also Bandcamp sales. I've started releasing my music on Bandcamp, and it's already made like $300 or something, $330, and I'm really grateful for that. That's really cool. Because I don't know, it just shows that you guys support me and it's out there in the world and makes me really happy. So that's kind of it. And of course, you can also as a musician do shows, but you have to understand that if you really want to make money off of music, it really becomes a service again as well. If you want to be a DJ, sure, you might have all these ideas of what you want to do, but if you want to get booked as a DJ, you got to provide a party, and a party for different situations may mean different stuff. So as soon as you start asking something for your music or your services, you have to understand that the people paying you can also ask something of you, and that is a balance you want to find in the right way. So thank you so much, Anton H 2743. 27 is one of my lucky numbers. I like that. Rolio-M3G. Could you recommend some albums that really influenced the way you make dub? You already mentioned Basic Channel, Quadrant Dub, and King Tubby. I'd love you to go deeper about your influences. Well, absolutely. So those are some of my main influences. But then as I started going more into the dub over the last few months, and also already before that, but now really digging deeper, I've just been going on YouTube and Spotify and into record stores. And in record stores, the records I bought, I don't even know what the artists are because it's like written so small and stuff and it's so cool. So I just put it on. I'm like, all right, this is a vibe. All right, cool. I can learn from this. So there's some records out here really inspired me. But I can go through a little list I made on Spotify. Also, thanks to you guys. There's another post on my channel of me asking that was a great idea I had. I was like, well, I want to learn more about dub, so why not ask the people that listen to my stuff what they like and what they recommend? And that gave so many great insights. But Substance and Vein Cure, is that how you pronounce that name? Substance and Vein Cure, absolutely crazy nice resonance, that track. Jan Jelinek, Linkwood, Robert Bosco, Move D. Oh, Move D. I absolutely love Move D. Already years ago, I started listening to his stuff. What's his name again? Stefan Mufang? I'm not sure anymore, but Move D is absolutely amazing. Andre Chilvu, I don't know, what are these names, man? Model 500, Starlight, Echo Space, unreleased mix. Oh, absolutely crazy nice. Embers and Ash, the YouTube commenter, also left some great other tips that I listened to, but I kind of lose track of all of this stuff because I listen to it a few times and I get inspired by it, and then maybe months later I come back to it. But those are like my direct dub influences. But in general, it's all the music I've listened to in my life that is the dub influence, you know? And that's also what I can bring to the genre. Like, that's what you are. You are an amalgamation of inspirations and influences, and that you process into something new and exciting. And that's what I love working in one genre, because then it becomes this, how can I apply everything that I love into this genre? And that's what I also got into dub, because the more I listened to dub, the more I heard that it has so many aspects of things I love about other music in it. And I was like, wait, so I can use this and that. And now, like yesterday, I was listening to some shoegaze music, and I freaking love like 90s and 2000s shoegaze stuff. And what are they called? LSD and the Search for God. Is that the album name, or is that the artist name? Excuse-moi. Oops. Yeah, LSD and the Search for God, Starting Over. Oh my God, that's amazing. Shoegaze. And I was listening to that yesterday, and I was hearing all those atmospheric guitars, and I was like, holy crap, that is like, can I use that in my dub stuff? So I started experimenting with the guitar and my distortions, and like, holy shit. So they just also create this backdrop of atmosphere, and they just float around that. And so it can come from anywhere, you know? And like, Steve Reich, like the modern classical composer, and his stuff with polyrhythms and counterpoint stuff, and Pat Metheny, and like jazz guys and stuff like that. They're so like, the influences for the dub is a medium. It's a way that you can implement those things, but it the influences for me come, like, I think, like, structurally they can come from dub tracks, but musically they come from just my whole life of listening to music, and then I apply that and I try something new out. And like, for example, one of my favorites, like Serendipity and also Shutoko dub, that was like really inspired by like Steve Reich counterpoint stuff. Just, okay, if I do a bunch of chord layering and let that repeat, how do they change and affect each other over time and stuff like that? So many influences, it is too much to count. So a bit of all of that. Thank you so much, Rolio. Barryscape. We've all heard soundscapes, we've seen landscapes, but now we get to experience the one and only Barryscape. Alright, let's go. Do you recommend a small lunchbox for outboard, compressor, and ultraviolet by SSL? Yeah, like I use my, I have my 500 series, as I said, the Elysia 500 series units, compressor, EQ, and saturator. I love it because I have, especially over the last few years, I was all over the place, so I just built my setup so I could take it with me anywhere, and that's why I got a lunchbox setup. But I only use it for mastering. I only use it like very slightly. I'm not much of a processing guy. I like to keep things very organic and natural in a sense, and let the sounds speak for themselves, you know? Like, be careful with your low cuts and like turning down the bass and stuff. Maybe you just need to, you know, with a chord, maybe you just need to turn down the volume, because when you turn down the EQ on the low end of a chord, you lose the pluck, you use the body of that thing, you know? So I like to treat my instruments as if you record a violin or as if you record a guitar. You wouldn't just like whoop, or a lot of engineers do, but I wouldn't. I want to hear the texture and the reality of that sound. And I recommend my Elysia units because they are very, for the quality level, they are affordable compared to also other hardware stuff, and incredibly competent. Even though they are not very character rich, that's what I like about them. They're reliable and incredibly high headroom and quality. I love it. Thank you, Barryscape. Wega4105, absolute legend on the channel as well. The Dutch equipment, could you show it to us? Tell a little magic, make magic with it. Yeah, more about your gears and the difference between the 10,000 techno styles. Have a nice day. Listen to your 40 vids and then the other 22 in your lists on the channel. Ah man, Wega, thank you so much for always being here. Wega, my guys, he's amazing. I'm not sure what you're referring to, but I have one. I think I know what you're referring to. I have one piece of Dutch equipment, the Magella Implexus, the legendary Magella Implexus. It is an amazing synthesizer. It really has its own sound. I think I will do it in my synthetic relations. I think I will do like an hour-long jam with it and talk about it and play around with it. So that's coming up, I guess. And more about your gear. Yeah, it's coming up, I guess. I've for a while I've been rejecting to talk about gear a bit because I wanted to make clear to everybody that I'm a musician first, and I want to put music into the world. And I have this other voice in me that says like, yeah, why do we always need to focus on like the consumerist aspect of it, you know? But then as I really started to consolidate my identity musically, I started to get more space in my head and freedom in my soul to feel like, but wait, we're all nerds together. We just love this stuff. And also, it's nice that you can hear what one synthesizer can do if you're interested in buying it. And they're beautiful instruments. So I'm happy to start sharing more about gear and equipment again. Just because it's fun. It's our hobby, right? We love doing it. And the difference between the 10,000 techno styles, man, I'm not the guy for that. Like, there are 10,000 techno styles. And sometimes with genres, it's like, oh, do we need to put a different label on every genre? And that's kind of what I love about the dub techno, because I feel like it is more of a medium and a philosophy than it is an actual genre. And the genre that it creates is a result of certain philosophies, because sometimes somebody, me included, might make a track, a person that you wouldn't normally associate with dub techno would make a track, but actually they end up using a lot of the philosophies of dub techno, and in the end we call it dub techno because it fits that philosophy. And I think that goes for a lot of genres. So Wega, thank you so much for always checking in and all the checking out my videos. I really appreciate it. Born from Pearls, also been seeing him recently a lot on the channel. Thank you so much for being here. If you had to start from zero, how would you build up your equipment? More of a question to your younger self. Also maybe your musical history as well. Well, I've touched upon my musical history. Played piano, played in bands, started producing music, started DJing, started producing a whole lot more, and now live electronic music. Yeah, I kind of started from zero with my hardware 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago. Yeah, that's when I started really, maybe 1 year ago. Yeah, it's really recent that I got into hardware, and thanks to, my royalties, I could be, and I was already quite systematic about it, but I did also splurge on some stuff to get more options, like that's why I have a bunch of drum machines. But if you look at my synthesizer history, I just got one more until it fit like the kind of palette that I want to create, and it fits the channels on my mixer. And now I am looking at maybe getting another synthesizer, but that is like after making 100 tracks with this whole setup, you know. It's like so this is kind of what you see here. This is how I would go if I would start from zero. This is all built up from zero pretty much. And I know it's very fancy and I know it's very expensive, and but I had the means, but it's like I was systematic about it. Like, it's like with clothes. I don't buy 2 hoodies all of a sudden. If I have one hoodie, that's very nice. I do like buying nice clothes, but then, okay, I have one oversized sweater. That is the oversized sweater. If you check all my videos, I'm not wearing that much different clothes. I have expensive clothes, but there are not that many of them. I have one pair of blue jeans, and they're wonderful Margiela blue jeans. And I wear them. I've had them for 1.5, 2 years, and I wear them if I want to wear blue jeans. And I have a pair of Prada black denim, and I wear that. And I've had it for like 1.5 years, and I don't have any other pairs of black denim. That's kind of how it works for me. So I have my synthesizers. I have my Oberheim. Sure, it's a few polyphonic synthesizers, but with their own sound. And within this whole setup, it takes a lot of convincing for me now to say like, okay, I'm gonna get another synthesizer because this already fits certain purposes. And drum machines was really just a central heart unit thing that I don't know, that feels like a different thing. But now I'm not interested in drum machines anymore. Like, I am, but like I don't want to get anything else. Like, I feel like I have I don't know what else would be out there that would make me go like, oh yeah. I mean, there's stuff that interests me, but to actually get it, I'm like, there's so much I can do with what I have already. Whatever. if I would start from zero with less budget, my point would be think systematically. Think really like, what functions do I need to fulfill? And then I would say like, yeah, get a mixer. And I've talked about this in my dub video, but get a mixer like a Mackie mixer or something, or a second-hand Midas mixer. Get like, or a cheap Yamaha mixer, who cares, like as long as it has channels on it, effect sends, and get like a delay, a reverb. But that's if you want to do it fully live, right? If you want to do what I do but in your own way, then and like get a polyphonic synthesizer, get a monophonic synthesizer, and get a drum machine. That is already like the basis of 99% of what I do. So, and with that you can look at every price range pretty much. So that is my tip for that. Yeah, thank you so much, Born from Pearls, and for being here on the channel. G3CD, he's been around for a long while. I don't know how many comments he's left. Quite a few. Yeah, 4 comments. Yeah, wondering about expensive mixers. All right, thank you. A nice subscriber. I know you've been around for a long time, but G3CD, how do you prepare your jams? It feels like you got a whole lot of MIDI loops ready that you blend in and out. I'd like to know more about the process of getting there. How do you approach loop making? Do you use samples, especially for the dub drums, or do you make everything yourself? Excuse me. Do you start with a drum or something else? Do you always finish one session before you start the next? How do you get back into the right mood to continue with the session on another day? Great questions, and this is stuff I think about a lot as well. And how do I prepare my jams? And you're very right. It's a whole lot of MIDI loops that I blend in and out. So every synthesizer has its own MIDI loop, or maybe I have 2 MIDI loops for one synthesizer, but usually everything is compatible with each other. So if I put up all the MIDI loops that I have programmed, and if I put up all the faders on my mixer, it should all work together as one big symphony. That is an absolute rule. So it's not like I do a whole B section or whatever that has different, I don't know. But so if I have, for example, 2 chord MIDI loops on one synthesizer, then it's usually like one extra chord that is going through a different polyrhythm so that it shows up at different places and creates a new interesting dynamic on the synthesizer itself, you know. But sorry about that. I've been noticing that I do that because a commenter pointed it out, but I tried to think about it, but it's so natural to my way of talking. I'm sorry, guys. I really try to think about it. So yeah, that's kind of it. And getting there, I kind of touched upon that on one of the earlier questions, but it starts usually with one synthesizer, and I'd start pushing down some notes just literally on the key bed, and then I'm like, all right, that's a good place to start. And then I add more, sound design, and then take away stuff, add a little bit more, take away something, again, until you have the lowest common denominator of your vibe. Like, I like to think of, and I've had this throughout my whole musical career, I like to simplify things and to make things legible, make it readable. I like to think of it like, make it sound like a Disney movie looks, and it doesn't mean that it needs to be all whimsical and stuff like that, but the Disney style, for its whole 100-year history, it's very legible, it's very clear, it's very bold lines, bold animations. Everything is clear and fulfills its purpose clearly, and that is what's really attractive to me personally. So that is why I like finding that minimal ground that I can build upon, because then, it's just clear. I like clarity in a sense. So don't edit too much yourself while creating, but like trimming off the fat. That is really one of my main ideas. Do I use samples? Barely. I did it a bit more earlier with the TR-1000, but that's also why I got into the live stuff, because I don't want to use samples too much. Like, unless I have a real cool vocal hook or something that I want to use on the TR-1000. But generally, no samples at all. Or like the alpha bass is on some channels sample based, but you do so much with the sound that it's a synthesizer. You shape it yourself, So I don't really use samples. And that is, again, I love the sound of purely analog generated sounds. I love that, but it's mostly out of a flexibility standpoint, because if I have everything live generated, like the synthesizers, it means that I have maximum control during the performance. I can increase the release, I can increase the cutoff, I can increase this and that and that. I can shape the sound way more to my liking in the process while being live. And the same goes for the drums. I can change that hi-hat ever so slightly. And of course, you could do that with samples as well, like on the Electron stuff, you can do so much. But for example, already then you have to switch from channel to channel, and all the encoders change what they do on what page you're on, and that doesn't really work for me in a live setting, because what if I want to do and change the cutoff of the chords and change the hi-hat texture at the same time? Then I run into a problem there if you have one device that does multiple things. But if I have all these generators spread out, I can do like, all right, I can do that at the same time as that, and I can do that at the same time as that. So no samples. I make everything myself generally. Do I start with drum or something else? Yeah, switches. Sometimes I start with a drum groove, and sometimes I start with like a chord or like an atmosphere, like a pad or something like that. Give or take, depends on where my thought has ended that day or before, and where I want to pick it up, or when I've heard something inspiring. Then I try to get into that zone, create that one element. Because when a track inspires me, I usually am inspired by the use of one element, not the whole track generally. So then like the dub track I mentioned earlier, the Model 500 track, Starlight, I think. Yeah, whatever. I heard like those background 2000s-ish chord stabs that are really like resonant, and I was like, oh, that is really cool. I want to do something like that. So then I took my UDO and I tried to get that vibe with my own chords, of course, and my own sounds, but just to get that feeling, So that's what I do, and then from there I start building up other stuff around it. Do I always finish one session before I start the next? Yeah, that's the analog life. As soon as I turn off my equipment, the session is gone. And that is also why I've talked about this in the past, but why I record my sets, because I cannot save any of it. Yes, sure, I can save some presets, but not on everything I can save the preset. And it will also not sound the exact same the next day. Also, because as you say very well, it's very hard to get back into the right mood when you come back another day. And this is something I've noticed throughout my whole production career. That's why I've learned to work really fast on also in the DAW, in Logic, because I want to get 80% when I produce music on the computer. I wanted to always to get 80% of the track completely done in one sitting. Otherwise, I lose the feeling, and it's almost impossible for me to get back into it. So it's just like, work fast, and it doesn't need to be perfect, but it has to have the right feeling. Work on the arrangement if you work in Logic. Spread it out. Make sure that you have a structure, and just the ideas are all out there. And then the trimming and all the adjusting you can do later. So I always finish one session before starting the next. That is, I have to, and I love that. That's why I record everything, because that is my snapshot. That is my snapshot of what I created that day. So even I record almost everything I create, but not everything is uploaded. But if on a random Tuesday evening I have this little idea, and I'm like, I want to try this out, and I create this nice little groove, and I'm like, I don't have the energy to make a full YouTube video out of it, but still I might end up recording it, because I'm just like, I'm never going to be able to get this back. I'm never going to be able to hear this. So I just press record, and I just make my whole setup so I can record very quickly and easily, so I can save that as a little memory, as a little thing. So all of that. And a tip on getting back into a session another day, if you do work with saving stuff, then one tip I do have is, whether it's Logic or in devices you can save with, my tip for that is create problems. If you come back into a session, you might tweak around a bit, and you're like, okay, yeah, that's that, but how do I get back into that? Create a problem. That is my number one tip. if you work in Logic, all of a sudden double the arrangement, and then all of a sudden you will listen to the song and you'll be like, oh, but wait, now it repeats. How do I make this not be boring? I take away a little bit of this there. So you create a problem to then solve, and the same goes for maybe a saved device, like an Electron device. Create a problem, like take away something, add something that really doesn't fit in, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, but maybe I need to change this. Like, you need to get that brain working on the relationship with that what you have, so that you will not come back into the exact same space, but you need to find a way to interject your current space into the old space. Nice, Bauke. Thanks. All right, AndiGee, can I recreate your setup with Behringer? Yes, you can, absolutely. You can get the Bodec mixer, you can get the Berklon sequencer, you can get the Bagella bin Plexus, you can get the Boberheim, all of that. Now, absolutely, I think I talked about it earlier in the video, but of course the sound is important to me, and I have the budget, so that's why I got all of this. But in the core, they've perform functions. They're functional things, and so you can get a hammer that's made of pure titanium, or you can get a little rusted iron hammer, but both of them will hammer the nail into the wood. Now, we're not hammering nails into wood, we're also making art, so the sound and the sound quality of these things of course plays a part in it. But you can definitely recreate my setup with Behringer, like more or less, functionally. I think almost literally you can get like a Moog replica, you can get Oberheim replica, you can get some drum machine, like they have a 909 replica, and then you're already very far in the Behringer recreation. So yeah, I think you can, my friend AndiGee. All right, thanks. JumboDubby, would love to see what you think of live guitar in a dub production. I am experimenting with that, actually. I've done some, little Instagram post about it, and also what I said earlier, that I want to see if I can do some shoegazy dub thing. But it's hard, because the dub for me is really about a nice kind of repetition and getting into a certain space, and live guitar, it's just like when people play saxophone over house music, like live. And I see a lot of DJs do this, and it can be really cool for a specific vibe. But I noticed that as soon as I start doing really live playing over something dubby, it kind of distracts from the meditative state that the dub is asking from me. So I'm doing a lot of experiments with it. It's a great idea. So keep your eyes out. It may come around. Krivo_OK. Thanks, man. Love your videos and vibe. I think I like the color of your videos. What cameras do you use? Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I think a lot about color and vibe, and I know that like my videos might have had some lo-fi qualities, but it's because I always experiment with something, and I also work with what I have. I bought a Sony A7 IV 3 years ago or something, just to make little home videos and take nice pictures as a luxury hobby device. But then all of a sudden I started doing this YouTube thing, and I was like, wow, okay, then I can use this camera for my filming. But it took me also like half a year before I bought a lamp to actually light it more professionally, But so I've been experimenting a lot with how do you film? How do I make the most of the setup with natural light? How do I present it? What angles? So you see a lot of fluctuation between my videos of how they look, because I'm just trying it out. Because yes, there is a template of like how to look like a synth YouTuber, but that's not very interesting to me. I want to, create my own thing. And Sony A7 IV with a Zeiss lens, a Zeiss Batiste 40mm. And but now this video is being recorded on my new baby. I have been thinking about it for a long time, and as crazy as it might sound, guys, like with what you see here behind me, I really don't like spending money that much. I love getting new tools, but it really takes a lot of convincing for me to actually pull the trigger on something, except the TR-1000. That's the only time it was like, bam, here we go. But stuff lives in the back of my mind for years, and then I'm all of a sudden like, okay, the fund, like my money and my it has a use case, it all lines up, and then I pull the trigger. So yesterday I finally bought a Sony FX3 camera with a nice lens, and that's what I'll be using now to film, and use my Sony A7 IV maybe for secondary shots so I can do cool new videos. But up until today, everything has been the Sony A7 IV, and very little processing. Usually it's just like I shoot an S-Log and then put straight S-Log to Rec 709 LUT on it, so it's not like any fancy film LUT. It's just like I work with the colors that are in my space. That is kind of it. Thank you. I really appreciate that. It's Okaso. 2 questions for you. 1, if you had to choose one hardware piece for your setup, would it be a drum machine or a synthesizer? 2, what areas of music theory do you think unlock the most creativity and ideation? Ooh, well, this is some nice questions. I'm going to take a little bite of my pain chocolat, and I'm going to drink a little water, and then I will get into this. How long are we going? 2 hours, all right. It's a classic Bauke video. I love my life. Oh la la. All right. All right. Yeah, let's go. If I had to choose one piece of hardware, it's a hard question, my friend. It is hard because, as I explained now, my whole setup is created with a certain idea that I can perform live and do live electronic music. So I do think that, and that idea really unlocked with one device in particular. So for my setup, if my purpose is to make live electronic music, then I would pick the Alpha Bass. That is, yeah, that's what started me doing improvisations live electronically with the couch techno stuff I've done on my channel, and it allows for so much groove creation, and I can keep a groove going on that thing for 2 hours just on its own, and it's not ambient. You cannot do much chords, but you can keep electronic music energy going for an extended amount of time that is flexible, creative. So I think that would be the Alpha Bass, actually. If it wouldn't be about creating live electronic music, I think it would be a beautiful synthesizer. I think maybe if I had the key, I bought the module version of the Oberheim because I wanted it to be transportable, but and to fit in a rack, for example. But if I would pick like one electronic instrument, then I would probably sell all of this and get a Moog one, or like one really nice synthesizer. Because I'm a piano player from the start. Piano is my first language, and sound designing and creating stuff with that seems wonderful. So a very nice synthesizer. Excuse me. A very nice synthesizer, or the Alpha Bass. What areas of music theory do you think unlock the most creativity and ideation? Ooh, I have thoughts about that, because I know music theory, but also I'm not very educated in that. My music education was an electronic music education. Our music theory was very basic. So when the time I went to that education, because I've played piano my whole life, I was already ready to graduate on that level, because it was really not anything of importance. My thought on this is that music theory is a theory to describe what musicians are already doing. And so knowing note notation, for example, is great, because it's a way to communicate from the composer to the players, here's what you play, because explaining it in words would take a very long time. So it's a tool. And so learning intervals, learning chords, Yeah, okay. I think I can put it. If I, yeah, okay. Wait, back to the music theory thing. It's you don't need to know theory. You just need to listen. That is my main thought. And so people can say like, oh, that's a G minor 7, add 5, sus 9, and whatever. Like whatever. I'm spewing bullshit, but it's people can have these talks about how this Nirvana tracks work so well because he adds that dominant there, and it's just like, well, Kurt Cobain was sitting with his fucking guitar and was having a vibe, and he listened to what sounded nice to him, and now we use theory to explain it. But that is what I think theory is for mostly. You can of course learn it and find new things to mess around with, but that's my take. It's kind of what I do with what I do with technology. You could also, yeah, you. I don't like people who talk about music theory very much. They can be very helpful, but I will say in my piano playing, which is the root of all my improvisation and music making, is that what really unlocked it for me is understanding what a key is. Like seriously, it's as basic as that. What is one key? So E minor, G major. And for me on the piano, that meant what that unlocked is, so if I play a song that is in G major, it means that I can play all of these notes in that scale. I'm not talking about learning the scales like no, I'm literally talking about if you look at that keyboard and if I play in G major, what notes are accessible to me to improvise with so that it will still sound harmonic and nice. So learning what notes, and that unlocked memory by learning then okay, and this when I read chord sheets, that's how I played a lot of piano in bands. I just got chord sheets: E minor, C major, G major, D major, and E minor again. I almost never played E for the E minor, E, G, B. It always became like, okay, so the tonality of this chord is E minor, so I put an E in the bass usually, and that's the foundation of the vibe here. But then I will play maybe, and that is then an E minor sus 4, like E, A, B, but I see it as I'm playing E minor kind of, but I just add little textures, I add little extra notes, and I can do that because I know what notes I can add. And over like 20 years of piano playing experience, then you start to build up this memory of like, but wait, if it's this kind of chord, then I know that if I add this kind of note, it will create this kind of feeling and texture. So it comes with learning and then experience. So, and also how that transfers between keys. So if I don't play from chord sheets, I always improvise everything I do. So it's like, because for me also the purpose of music making is not to play songs that other people have already written. For me, the purpose of music making is being able to translate a feeling and to create a feeling. And so I started learning after a while, like years ago, that it was like, okay, so I first learned everything in C major because it's only the white keys. That's very easy. So I know that the C major is the home. That's the home root of this whole scale. So if I press that is home. That is simple. But if I play an F major, okay, that creates that kind of euphoric feeling. And after a while, I could translate that. I remember that I could first translate that to another key, was the G major key, E minor. So then I knew, but wait, how I see that C and that F, that is in the G major scale, that's the G and the D. So I can now translate what I know from the C scale into the G scale. And then later, years later, I learned that there's actual notation for this, that the C major in the C major scale is called the 1 chord. And then you have the 2, the 3, the 4, and the F is the 4. So now, thanks to music theory, I can better explain what's actually going on inside, so that C to F major is actually the 1 to the 4. And and then I don't have to have that C major translation in my head anymore. Now that's fluent. Because first it would be, if I would then play in F major, I would have to translate, okay, so the F is actually the C, so the B flat is actually the F, blah, blah, blah. It became a whole thing, but after a while I learned it's the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, the 6, the 7, and back to the 1. So learning a scale, learning a key, that's great stuff. And then listening, practicing. And practicing, I don't mean sit there and just like, but that can help sometimes to get one specific technique under control. Like I practice arpeggios a lot, so I could do like, take like an E minor and like over the whole key thing. But that's a physical thing to practice. But my actual practice was just like playing, just making nice sounds come out of that piano. That is, yeah. And from there, it all just kind of grows. So, yeah. That is what I would recommend. Thank you so much. It's Okaso, Jack Chafan 3985. I've been seeing you a lot on the channel as well. Thank you so much for being here. First, love your videos. One of your latest about the art of listening was deeply appreciated. Thanks, man. I'm primarily a church pianist and organist. I'm going to talk about that. However, sonic exploration and improvisation are important to all genres. You mentioned genres as well. I'm curious about the Percon's HD01. I've seen it in your videos. I'd love to hear your take on it and how it fits or doesn't fit into your workflow. I have one I sync with Tanzbar 2 and MPC X, so I would find your insights valuable as I continue to explore. Thanks. What a lovely comment and question. Thank you so much, first of all. And I'm first going to go about the church stuff, because I grew up in church. My parents are preachers, and yeah, every Sunday, my parents are very free people with religion, so when me and my siblings were like 12 or 15, then we didn't have to go anymore to church. But when we were younger, yeah, they didn't want us to sitting at home because they were working every Sunday, so they took us with to church. And I guess some maybe they did have some motives of like, okay, here's the church, we like the church, but whatever. They're very free with that. But so I grew up in church, so organ sound is deeply, deeply ingrained into my system. And actually, speaking of organ sound, that's like the original synthesizer, right? That's the cool thing, like adding these drawbars and like adding these different textures and the flutes and these different registers. That is the cool thing. It's the OG synthesizer. And what I love so much about churches, and it's also the challenge, because churches want to modernize often. That's cool. And my father is a big lover of pop music, so he would always do these church services where he gets a live band in, and always often a different band, and talk about like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and then tell stories about Kiedis' life, and then with those stories attach that to a Bible story to give some life insights and lessons. My father likes, as a preacher, he likes the dirt of life, and that makes him not always popular in church, but that's important to him, the realities of life. And yeah, one of the challenges with that is, I think, making music in church, you have to always you have to adapt the music to the space that it is played in. A drum kit in a church is one of my biggest pet peeves in human history. A drum kit is not made for a church. A church is a resonant chamber, and that's why choirs are the original church music, because this one voice carries so much, because you're in this huge echo chamber, and it just like, wow, it envelops. So I feel like, and the organ as well, an organ has very like quick attack in a sense, like a proper pipe organ. Of course, it has a bit of a slope to it, but because it's played in a church, it has reverb and it rings out. And so I always think you need to be very conscious of listening. So when I played piano in churches, I could always go in. I could get the keys to the church, and I could go into the big church hall and play piano on a beautiful piano there. It's a big teenage memory of mine. I just noticed very quickly that if I play like Pirates of the Caribbean on the piano there, it didn't translate very well, because the whole hall envelops it too much, so those quick notes get lost a bit. But our organist, it was so much fun that when me and my brother would be sitting next to each other in church and bored out of our asses, and then we would love it so much, because you mentioned improvisation, and our organist was like this, like 60-year-old guy, very calm guy. He was also the what do you call it again? I forget. But like the janitor for the church, he takes care of the building and everything. But he was like the most quiet, calm guy ever. And then what we would love is that, the organist starts introducing the psalm and create this beautiful music. And then there's always the little organ intro. And then sometimes this cheeky little bastard would do like a little flick, a little extra note, a little trill there. And it would be the funniest thing, because you wouldn't expect it from him. But there was some proper funk in that guy. And it's beautiful. And I also love that with being a church organist. Like, I've never done that. But it's also because, I'm used to very groovy music and very electronic music. But the organ player really has to listen and also provide such a service, because you really have to introduce the psalm in the right way for the people so they know where the notes are. And he has to slow down a bit before they actually start singing and land that final chord. And then they know when to start singing. So he really has to work with a few hundred people that sit there, and to actually properly play with that. That's really beautiful, I think. So shout out to you, Jack. This is so cool to hear that you're an organist. Switching there, curious about the Percons HD01. I've talked about it now. It fits into my workflow, but for different vibes, I would recommend listening to the Shibuya dub and the Fucho dub, because there I really played with Percons. And there was also the TR-1000 attached to it, I believe. The Osaka Sunrise dub. There it's only the Percons, I believe. And there you hear its strengths. But yeah, it's limited, but it's very powerful for what it can do. I treat it, especially that one, as one little drummer with a simple jazz kit, it has a hi-hat, it has a snare, it has a kick drum and a tom. There's nothing else going on, so it's way more specific groove based on that thing. So I don't know how much more I can say about the Percons, but it's a wonderful device if you are if you see it in the right perspective, I guess, for you. But also, that's my interpretation of the machine. You can make brutal sounding stuff on that thing, but that's not what I do really, or I have done. If you check out my video, I Want Dirt, and there I just explore the Percons with the Moog Spectravox and my Soma. The synth from Soma. Thanks so much, Jack. It was fun to talk about church a bit. Would love to hear more of your thoughts about what it means to be an organist as well. That's really interesting to me. Thank you so much. Tasha30. I'd love to see in detail how you dial in specific sounds and then process them together. Maybe that could be best shown using 2 or 3 elements. I find I already like most of your tracks when just few elements are playing, and would love to learn a bit about your production and mixing process and philosophy. Man, thanks, Tasha. Makes me really happy. And I've touched upon it in this video a lot already, but it's a lot about listening and shaving away. And I think I've touched upon pretty much everything you ask about. I can talk about it philosophically. Mix-wise especially, I am not an EQ guy. I really don't like using EQ that much, because as I said, I like to keep the natural sound of something intact, and I like to solve things if things clash with each other. I more like to explore than, but they sit in the same register, so either I change the rhythm of these things so they never overlap, or I change the register in which they play so that the sub bass sits lower than that main dub chord, or if 2 dub chords are going, make sure that one is in a different inversion, using music theory to explain, but that's not how I think about it in my head, but using a different inversion of the keys, or using just an entirely different set of notes. And then you also have the ability to use sound design to make, but if this is a brighter sound than that one, then it needs no mixing. And the mixing is gain staging. That is my mixing philosophy, setting the gains right. If 2 things are overlapping and they're exactly what I want them to be sound wise and musically, then one of them, then either they just cannot live together, and so that's where the performance element comes in. Just make sure to not bring them in together, or just pull down one a lot, make it a lot quieter, and make it in the background and think 3D, and that can really work as well. And I really like that you say that you already like my grooves when there's just 2 or 3 elements playing, and that's that whole process of elimination that I talk about, that I try to create something that with minimal elements is already interesting, and then you have a lot of headroom to start playing around with combinations and extra stuff, but the basis needs to be all right. On the rest of your question, now that I have my new camera, which can do wider angle stuff as well, I'm gonna start shooting videos from more up and that you can see my whole thing. And as I started testing that out yesterday, I was like, oh damn, this is great. Now I have finally got an angle on which I can also record a video where I just create a track from scratch with you guys, and I can talk through the process of what I do. Maybe I will talk in it, maybe I just record that I do it without talking and you just hear and see me do it. Yeah, let me know if you want me to talk in it or not. Maybe I will try out both. But lovely question. I hope I already answered a lot of it in the rest of the video. Thank you, Tosha. Top of the Beats. Man, so happy to see you here. Also, absolute winner of the channel. He's so often in my comments. I'm so grateful to have you here. So thank you so much. I would like to see collaborations with other dub techno musicians. That would be cool. Yeah, that's a thing, right? Collaborations. Now, I have worked together with a lot of people over my whole career, but I like working on my own. That's it's now that my identity is starting to consolidate more. It's opening up more possibilities to be like, okay, but yeah, whatever. But for me, it really comes down to, first of all, I barely invite anybody into my space. That's just this is a bit of my sacred space. My girlfriend is here. And otherwise than that, I think like not more than 3 other people have seen my place here in Paris. That's just, it's not some woo-woo thing, but I just really like to be on my own. And I don't want to have a lot of people here. It's, yeah. And working on my own, it gives me the time and space to explore sounds on my own tempo and try out new things on my own tempo. And but I've got some trips coming up. Next week I'm going to Amsterdam, and I got in touch again with one of my old classmates from the Ham and Brood Academy, Luc Frey. Guys, check out Luc Frey. Maybe some of you already know him. He makes frigging cool techno stuff. Like it is, and soundscapes and ambient. It is absolutely next level when you hear what he does. And I just got in touch with him after like 10 years again last week, and that's thanks to me doing my stuff on YouTube. He just saw a video and he was like, oh man, this is so cool, let's hang out. So but there you already see, he's a lovely guy. I know him very well from back in the day, or like very well, I know him pretty well from back in the day. I know his energy, I know his vibe. And so I am going to his studio and bring like 1 or 2 devices and then hang out with him. But that's what it starts with for me. I need to really get a good feeling from a person and like, okay, we can hang out and have some fun. And just on a quite I'm not gonna sugarcoat that either. It's not only the vibe, it's also the sense of musicality that I get from the person. That's not judgmental in any way. It's just like, I have worked with a lot of musicians where I feel like I could have done something better, quicker, more efficiently on my own, or that their vibe didn't match where I wanted to go. So then and compromise can be great if it ends up at a cool place, but I ended up being a lot of times frustrated because there's something in me that wants to come out, and then working with somebody else, it didn't get the space to come out. It's not their fault, it's not my fault, but it just taught me that I really enjoy working on my own, so that all of that what's in here can come out. But I'm really excited to hang out in the studio with my friend. But yeah, that's somebody I've known for a lot of years. And so it goes slow, my collaborations. I'm very interested as well to see where this YouTube journey takes me, because that's the most fun about this YouTube thing, that I get to meet people. But yeah, I am quite careful with collaborations actually. So thank you for this lovely comment and all the support you've left around. Thank you so much. Top of the Beats, absolute legend. Also has top in his name, and I do too, so vibe. TC-IK2EV, rolls off the tongue. I think, yeah. Your stuff is dope, and it's inspired me to make some filthy, ultra deep house techno. So thanks for that. No questions here. Just keep doing what you're doing. Well, I would say the same to you, man. Hearing that you make some filthy, ultra deep house techno, That makes me very happy. Make it filthy, make it disgusting. I want to smell it all the way from here in Paris. All right, keep going, my man. I'm so happy for you. Landon, also absolute legend on the channel. Seen you many times. How long did you spend on performance prep before recording the 2 mix when you started out? How do you organize your hardware mentally so you feel clean and smooth on the transitions during the performance? For example, do you use the circle on song mode to change sequences for you while you tweak synth params? Or do you trigger those in the moment and just have gotten really good at quickly bouncing between gear on transitions without dropping a beat? Same with drum mutes. Are you muting the kicks manually on the alpha bass, or do you send a kick sequence to it from the circle on and mute that? I feel like most of this is simply built with practice, but would be cool to hear of any advice that clicked for you and helped you speed up the process. Love all the videos. It's such a great channel. Man, thank you so much. I really love this comment and all the other stuff you've left on my channel. I really appreciate it. Let's start from the beginning. How long did you spend on performance prep before recording the 2 mix when you started out? I don't know if you mean like just in general when I started doing the live electronic music stuff, because that's a good question, but I will answer it both ways I interpret it. When I started out, it was all improvisation based. I didn't plan any MIDI notes. I just started the sequence, pressed record, and just started creating the drums, adding chords. If you go to my earlier YouTube videos, like my first uploads, you see that it's all complete improvisation. There is no preparation whatsoever. It's just start from initialized sounds and just go from there. And because I didn't know what I wanted to do yet, I wanted to explore in the go. And from the get-go, the whole point was to not drop a beat, to not let the energy go down, because I came to the live electronic music thing from a DJ's perspective. I thought I wanted to do this stuff live in clubs, so I wanted to be able to keep a groove going and to keep an atmosphere going and just, keep on vibing. And so that was the main importance, and around that, play around. So I treated it as a DJ from the get-go, and a DJ needs to keep the vibe going. So no preparation, just keeping on going. But nowadays when I start out, the performance prep is everything what I've said. I create the sounds. Nowadays I prepare a lot, and it goes quick because I am fast, but I prepare a lot. But the preparations are the MIDI loops, they are the sound designs, but then what takes the most time, like creating the initial idea, doesn't take that much time. That's like an hour of standing in front of the setup. Then I have the main chords down, I have the main grooves down, the main sounds. But then what takes a few more hours is just, and I take breaks in between. I like do a little sprint from like, okay, I start making the beat and I'm in a super flow, and then like 1 hour, 1.5 hours. And then all of a sudden I notice that I cannot go further anymore. I notice that the ideas stop and that I don't know where to go. So then this is what I love about the live setup, because in the DAW, in the computer, I would then usually start tweaking with plugins and stuff like that. Because of how my brain works, it would be hard for me to disconnect from that computer, and I would burn myself out 5 hours doing actually nothing. But now I can just like, okay, I go back to the couch. This is why I love having my stuff at home. I just go from the setup back to the couch, put on a little YouTube video and just rest. Just like let the ideas sit. And usually I watch some content on like telecom electronic beats, or it's always like electronic music related usually, or nature documentaries or gaming videos, whatever. But and then all of a sudden, after like half an hour, I will feel like, this I can tweak. And then I go back and then I'm sucked right back in. And then the tweaking starts. What I spent quite some time on is not only the initial sound design, but also creating parameters, like creating a perimeter creating a perimeter, so that I know that I set the gains not exactly where they should be always. Like the drum and bass usually stays solid during the performance, but the gain for the Oberheim, for example, I set that in a range where it's like, okay, because if I add the resonance and I open the filter, it becomes a lot louder, so then I need to turn the gain down and stuff like that. But I create a range also with the release and the envelopes and the LFOs. I create a bit of a perimeter, that gives me freedom to play around during the performance, so that not too much unexpected happens, but still unexpected things can happen, but if they do, it's in a beautiful way. And so a lot of tweaking of where do I set the cutoff to start out my jam. At the end of the jam, usually they're nothing where they started out at, because I start tweaking everything. But I create a starting point which gives like 10%, 30% flexibility. And from there, I start playing. And then usually it's like 1 hour of initial ideation, then another hour of tweaking, another little break, and then usually one more hour of tweaking and getting everything just right. As I said, trimming away the fat, creating the perimeter, and then I take another little break and I start prepping for the recording. I start setting up the interface, I start setting up the camera and everything like that. I need another sip of water. How do I organize? Yeah, clean and smooth on the transitions during the performance. Yeah, so I hear you talk about circle on song mode and stuff like that. I don't do much MIDI stuff. It's just MIDI usually stays pretty much as it is. And I do sometimes mute a MIDI channel of a chord loop. But now that my mixer is so much the main heart, I just fade it out if I don't want that sound or chord anymore. So actually the MIDI loops don't really change during my performances. And what makes a transition smooth, now that's another thing. What makes a transition smooth is think about energy, like every frequency domain, like the drums and the bass and the synths, they all have their own frequency domain, and frequency domains also give a certain energy, and the length of certain notes and reverb tails and delays, they all bring their own energy. So what I like to do, and that's the DJ thinking, think about how the energy changes when you go into a transition. So if I want to take away an element, because I've been grooving out around 2 or 3 elements, if I then all of a sudden would take away one of those elements, yeah, that would leave a gap, because the whole structure is built around then those elements. So I think about, okay, but instead of just taking away this chord, what if I start smoothing it out, slowly turning down the filter, adding more reverb, adding more delay, because I take away energy in the frequency domain by lowering the filter, but I add some reverb, which brings some more pressure and brings some more wash. And with that washiness, I can then slowly turn it down. And when I turn that down, I can turn something else up. And when I bring something new in, usually it's also low cut, so high cut, so it's darker, and I can slowly bring that in. And in this meeting point, I bring it in. And also sleight of hand. It's also like some tricks, like a magician. You want to, if I do want to do a drastic change, like take away the drums, and I'm practicing with all of this, like I'm not a pro at all of this, I'm just practicing. So I try to experiment now a lot with, if I want to take away the drums all of a sudden, I maybe send it to the delay first and then take it away, so that it still rings out a while I've already taken out the filter, so it's not too abrupt. So it's always listening and trying out. And this is also what I've mentioned in other videos, what I love about doing it live and recording it live and uploading it live as it is, warts and all. Because then that mistake I made, if one transition was too abrupt for my liking, will live there forever. I cannot tweak that afterwards. That is in the performance when I took away those drums too quickly. But because I listen to my own music so much, I will hear that every time. And in the beginning, it is jarring. It causes so much stress to hear back the mistakes you did. But you start living with it and you're like, I'm just learning, I'm just growing. And because it's out there, I cannot change it. It's for the world to hear. It hurts a bit extra. But it makes a mental note for me. I'm like, okay, I don't want that again. So next time I try something else. And then usually I overshoot by doing it in a different way. And then slowly you find the right way to do that one transition you were thinking of. Drum mutes, that's on the drum machines themselves almost always. I don't, the MIDI sequencing on the Circlon is only for the synthesizers. The drums I always sequence locally on the machine. So this is what I love about the TR1000, that you have the faders for all the drums. That's really nice. And the Percons has the filters and volume knobs for every drum. That's really nice. But the Alpha Bass, it's a bit harder, but I just click to mute and stuff like that. I think that answers most of your question. Thank you for always being here, Landon, and Landon H. See you again soon. Triumphant Lamb. Now, that's funny because the church I grew up in when I was 10 until like 17, we lived next to the church, was called Agnus Dei, and that's the Lamb of God. So shout out to all the lambs out there. Talk about drum patterns or perhaps effects, writing bass lines. Drum patterns. All right, I will talk about drum patterns. Think like it's been starting to change a bit. First, it was really, just make electronic music drums and make a groove. But I started adding quite a lot because I had my double drum machine set up, and it was more about textures and grooves. But when I started diving more deep into the dub, especially the Jamaican dub, I started really hearing what the bass elements are, and then it's a drummer, it's a bass player, it's a guitarist, and a vocalist sometimes, and some horns maybe. And that's when I started to use the Percons for a while. Because I wanted to treat it just as a simple drummer. So just just start putting in stuff, create a little groove, create like a pocket, create like a that's it. All right. And then you can play with the sounds, but like create a drum groove that on its own is already groovy, because that's the function of drums for me. I think in functions, but that's the function of drums for me. Creating a groove, creating a steady rhythm that everything else can dance around. It's one of the coolest things about music. I had a thought yesterday as I went to bed. I'd just been to the cinema, and I love all forms of art so much. But music remains... Yeah, I'm a musician, so of course I'm going to say this. But I had a little hot take in my head. I think music is the ultimate form of art, actually. Because it energizes, like... It can inspire you to dance. It can inspire you to cry. It can energize you. It can slow you down. It lives directly in one of the senses. I think music lives the least in the head and the most in the rest of the system than any other art form. And that I think is really cool about music. It's a sense. It's a feeling, and that is. Yeah, when you press pause, the music stops, it's gone. You can look at a photo and it will be there. You can pause a movie and you can set a frame still. The poem you wrote out is always there. But music has to move. It only lives through movement, and that is so cool. Talk about effects. Effects are cool. I'm not a big effects guy. Again, sometimes I go through a phase of using more effects. But then usually I come back to not using many effects, because it can be a nice flavor. It's like adding a little spice to a sound. But I think, again, functionally, pragmatically, I can probably solve it without those effects as well. Like music and a groove and a performance is also a bit a problem to solve for me. How do I fill this? How do I create that feeling? And sometimes an effect can be an integral ingredient to a certain feeling. But very often I try to solve things musically, so by doing a different chord, different sound design, whatever. And effects, delay and reverb are really essential, even though I also go through phases not wanting to use that. But delay adds time and reverb adds wash. It's just two very useful effects to have in a live setup. Writing bass lines, that is something I pride myself on a bit, even though sometimes in my dub tracks it's literally just a low C playing every bar. But it can be so challenging. If you like, for example, check out in my electronic improvisations, it's not dub techno, but it's like my edit remix of Phoebe Bridgers' Kyoto, or like my Overcome electronic music performance. I really pride myself on being able to, because I cannot write like I would do in a DAW or like in songwriting, like, of course I can make an 8-bar loop with different chord structures for every bar. I can do that on the Cerelydat, but it's not dub, it's not meditative, it starts getting boring after a while. So making a 1-bar, 2-bar bass loop that can still fit with different upper chord structures. So you try to, also in the bass, try to hit the right notes at the right times, that other things can still loop over and don't sound dissonant, but actually create an interesting harmonic texture. I love doing that, and every time it works out, I'm so proud of myself that I can accommodate different chords with one repeating bass line. That is crazy to me. Like, I'm really, wow, I've blown myself away with that sometimes. But mostly in the dub, it's very simplistic, because just like the drum groove, it fits a foundational purpose. And I think that goes back to the earlier question, why my stuff can still sound nice with only a few elements playing, because I almost never take away the drums and the bass unless I have a proper little breakdown, and then other elements will be washing over you. But yeah, it's foundational stuff. The drummer and the bass, the harmonic structure and the rhythmic structure are defined, and like, you might have a million chords going on top, or just one, but whatever higher octave chords or notes you play, they will be grounded and defined by the bass note that's playing in the bottom. I think that's where it all lands. That's the earth. So usually it's like most of my bass things are one or two notes that repeat every bar, and usually I do them just offset from the kick so they don't hit at the same time. And then it's like finding out which two notes don't get boring and accommodate what I do on top of it. And usually it's very filtered down, the bass lines. And yeah. Thank you, triumphantlamb. We have a high in the high. Is that it? A high in the high 888 or I will call you a high in the high 24. Please share more about the ideas behind your compositions and how you use different elements to work together. And sound design related topics would be great. How you start and how the process to achieve the result you are happy with, on top of everything on how you perform your songs live, what you prep before, how your MIDI is set, is always welcome. All right, thank you so much for the comment. I think I've touched upon everything you kind of say. Yeah, sound design related topics. I try to make things that are satisfying. Everything comes down to satisfaction to me. That is like the measure, I guess. Like, does this satisfy my ears, my soul, my body? Because that is what we're going back to Landon's question, not dropping a beat. When a transition is bad, it's not satisfying. You lose a feeling or something, or that is my qualitative aspect. So sound design is like, I try to not repeat myself too much, but with the similar sounding sounds. But I also have a limited setup, like it's only a few synths in the end. So you will over time find yourself coming back to similar sounds. But then what you do with it, you can play with time, with filter, with envelopes, with LFOs to create something special, and with the melody and with the chord structure and everything, and the delays and the rhythms. You can do so much to make even the most similar sounding things end up being quite a different experience. Like, it's a limited setup, and dub is a limited genre, but the permutations within this setup are so infinite that's why I'm confident I can keep doing this for a long time. How you start and how, I think I talked about that, the process, yeah, it's all of that. I think I've touched upon everything, my friend. A high in the high 24. It's I think I've touched upon it all. If I missed something, you want me to talk about something specifically more, let me know. Thank you so much. GO1-ZHZ, thank you for writing in. How do you set up your effects sense? What sound design techniques are indispensable to you? What hardware effects would you recommend getting first, and why? Well, also thank you for writing in, and many of these things as I've said, have touched upon. How do I set up my effects sense? Before I had the Rodec, it was just the two sends on like on my API mixer or on my Midas mixer, just a reverb and delay. And the trick is finding a delay repeat rhythm, because I know it's very dub to change the delay repeat timing. It's not really my thing. I play around a lot with other things, and I set up the delay. That's the challenge with the delay, finding a groove in the delay that complements your overall song structure, because it's just another rhythmic chordal element. And so that is one of the main things with my delay setups. And with the Rodec, I cannot feed back send one into send one like you can do that on an Allen and Heath mixer, on a Midas, on the API. Many things you can feed things back into itself that can be great for transitions, but on the Rodec mixer I cannot do that. Fine, I use different techniques to transition into different parts of the set. But reverb, yeah, it's about setting it up in a way that it complements the song. Yeah, it's very simply said that, okay, I land on a groove. Usually it's 8th note triplets, and then I check if I want that to be a ping pong or just a dual mono or a mono delay. Because what's cool with the Rodec, I have it set up as a dual mono delay. So what that means is that if a mono sound is playing in the middle of the spectrum, then the delay will also be there. So it just goes behind the sound. And if I play something in the left, the delay will also go in the left and in the right. And so it never ping pongs, it just goes behind the sound. If I have a stereo sound playing, it will repeat what the stereo field is already doing. I like that. What sound design techniques are indispensable to you? Everything I've mentioned here in the video, but mainly think about it structurally. Like, what is the sound design? Think about timbre, like brightness and darkness, so a cutoff filter, and think about time. Think about envelopes. So is this a short sound? Is it a long sound? And then the resonance on my Oberheim is absolutely indispensable. I love how that changes the sound. And LFOs. I have limited LFO capabilities in my setup, but they are very nice to have a nice little subtle LFO on like a stereo spread or on, a little LFO on a stereo spread or something like that, or on a filter, so that when I'm not touching that instrument, that it still varies and changes while I'm busy with other stuff, so it stays interesting. It's always about keeping things interesting and listening. That's my satisfaction thing, so something doesn't get jarring. If it gets jarring, I have filled my purpose for my own listening pleasure. What hardware effects would you recommend getting first and why? Delay and reverb. That's absolutely it. You don't need much more, I think. Most of my music is made without any other effects. Delay and reverb. All right. Thank you so much, Geo1ZH. Ooh, maybe a nice analog filter. That is... you can do amazing stuff with proper analog filters like the Rodec Mini Styler, Rodec Sherman Mini Styler. Oh my God, that was it. Bauke Top says, thank you all so much for the questions. There will be a great 5-hour long talking video. Haha, so funny, Bauke. And how long did it actually become? 2 hours and 45 minutes. I've been cheating you guys. This is so terrible and sad. All right. I hope I didn't overblow the exposure on this video. I'm just getting used to the FX3 and now it got brighter outside as I'm recording this. I hope the video will look all right. Yeah. Hey guys, that was the questions. Thank you all so much. We're here to celebrate 4,000 subscribers, half a year of full-time video making, half a year being together with my girlfriend, almost 100 videos on my channel. This is absolutely a massive celebration. I also had another idea, right? So maybe I will take some of these questions here and make proper videos on them. I am thinking about doing a live creation video where you can just see the process that I go through to create something. And maybe also, if you guys leave questions on this video, maybe this will be an infinite loop that once a month I just go through all the questions and then on that video new questions arise. So if you have questions on these questions and answers, then let me know. Maybe I will get to that. Let me know if you enjoyed this. Seriously, thank you all so much. Like, it's my channel, but you are the channel just as much as me. Without you, there would be no channel. It's complete something with reciprocity. How do you say all? Reciprocatal, reciprocal loop. Is it a reciprocal loop? I don't know. Let me know. Thank you all so much. I love being here. I love that you guys listen to me. That's wonderful, and ask me questions and teach me and keep me sharp and all of that. This was Bauke. Thank you so much. Bye.